Hey gang, John Baccarella here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Wednesday, June 19th. Water temperature at Belle Isle is up a whopping 7 degrees from last week. It's now up to 71 degrees. The water obviously out near the shipping channel is going to be a little bit cooler, and then the water all along the shorelines of the lake are going to be much warmer, especially considering the fact that we really haven't had any wind. I mean, the last few days it's been pretty darn calm. So that water along the shoreline there kind of gets stuck there, and you get that main flow going down through the shipping channel. And I think that's one of the reasons why that water at Belle Isle didn't like skyrocket up, because it's just like kind of in the main current flow, and it's not getting as much mixing going on out there right now. And I'm going to imagine the shoreline areas are probably mid 70s at least. So, the weather forecast for this week, they had it all doom and gloom as of last week, right? That we were going to be like almost 100 degrees every day, all week long. But that hasn't come to fruition. It is actually only like been just getting close to 90 degrees. I'm not even sure if we actually broke 90 degrees yet. But it has been hot. So, I mean, there's no taking away from that. It's been hot. It's been muggy. Upper 80s to pushing 90 degrees. And that's kept a lot of you guys like home and in the AC. So I get it. And, it is what it is, but it has been pretty darn flat calm out there too. So it makes for some darn good top water conditions. So I should probably, one thing this big warm-up is done is that we've got mayflies like we haven't had in a long time. I don't have any pics of them, though, by the way, but just trust me when I tell you that if you've been around the lake, the mayfly hatch has been going like crazy. And we've got a little bit of an onshore breeze tonight, mostly because of like the heating. We're getting like an onshore flow right now. So I would expect the store is just going to be absolutely covered with mayflies tomorrow, although I do have those front lights turned out. So thankfully, my door is not completely covered at the store, but we're going to get a big hatch again, I'm sure, tonight. And what does that mean for you guys? It means you really need, if you're a bass fisherman, even if you're not a bass fisherman, you should keep a rod rigged with a topwater, your favorite topwater bait, like I talked about last week, a popper or something like that on there, and just have it ready, because those smallies are definitely going to be surface feeding. And you just want to take advantage of it if you get the opportunity, because it's a blast having these fish blow up on top water. So have that rod ready, or if you're somebody that's out there targeting early in the morning or in the evening times, primarily in the morning, just because Lake St. Clair is less stupid first thing in the morning, and it's going to be flatter, and you're going to be able to see the fish better when they're surface feeding, and you'll be less bothered if you're early in the morning before all the go fast boats get out there and make you nuts. Which kind of brings me up to the next point, and it was really well received, the "Don't Be That Guy" spot that we did last week. And some of you folks have been asking online and asking in the store if I can make that a regular spot, and I really don't want to do that, primarily because I'm not here to like shame people. What I do want to do, though, is I do just want to, if I can be informational and educational at the same time, and I'm sure a lot of the stuff that happens out there is not done out of malice. It's generally done out of ignorance for the most part, and I'm being kind when I say that. Ignorance just meaning that people just aren't thinking about what they're doing when they do it. So if you have things that you see out there that you want to bring up and you want to send that information to me, and you have pictures or video, and I will review it, and if we can turn it into a teachable moment without intentionally shaming anybody in particular, then we'll put it in there for sure, because it does have an impact on everybody's experience out here on the lake, right? So if we can turn it into a teachable moment and we can gain something from it, then I have no problem putting it in there. But I'm not just going to turn it into I'm just not out to create dissension among the ranks and to create hostility between people. So we'll leave it at that. So if you want to send me info, go ahead, and I'll try to work it in. No promises, but we'll see if we can work it in there, and we can try to make it somewhat regular if we have stuff to put in there. A shout out to Luke Pawlowski from the Outdoor Conquest channel. He's also another YouTuber. I guess I can call myself a YouTuber now because we've been doing this long enough. Luke was in our store and he did a spot on his channel, so I'm giving him a shout back. Thank you for coming in and doing that spot, man. I appreciate it, and keep up the good work out there catching those giant skis. You and Mike Coleman like to go chase out there in your kayaks. Be careful out there though, and hopefully I don't have to do any "don't be that guy" spots for anybody like running you guys over or anything out there. I'm always worried about you kayakers out there because you really can be really tough to see out there, especially if there's any water movement. Talk about our charter captains. You guys know I follow them a lot. Captain Jason Quintano of Fins and Grins has been stacking up those big muskies out there already. Captains like Garrett Samsel, Joe Bauer of Smallmouth Heaven Guide Service, they're still bringing in a lot of quality smallies. Although I know those guys have to work for them, especially this time of the year. It gets kind of tough right now. These fish are just really getting set up into their summer patterns. And we'll talk about that a little bit right now because it's got me a little bit perplexed what's going on out there right now too. So before I do that, a shout out, because this is going to lead into what I'm going to talk about. Shout out to Jason Brubaker, who sent in a picture of a really nice smallie that he caught from shore. And I know the spot where Jacob is fishing really well. I've spent many hours there fishing from shore myself. So let's say this. You guys have been hearing me say that these fish are pretty much done spawning, and they pretty much are done spawning, although there'll be some fish here and there that you're going to find. You'll find some small pods of fish that are still in spawning, and you're going to find smaller males guarding nests still probably in some areas. But generally, those fish generally move out. But for whatever reason this year, there seems to be a much larger number of fish that are holding shallow. And I've heard it from more than a couple of people, including some guides and charter captains too, that they are still finding quite a good number of shallow fish. So I guess don't disregard that yet. I'm still trying to figure out exactly why, other than maybe that the big mayfly hatch that we have going on is playing somewhat of a role in that. Our water levels are just kind of normalish right now. They're not low, they're not high. Weed growth is kind of normalish too. So, but for whatever reason, there are still a lot of fish holding relatively shallow. And when I mean relatively shallow, I mean 6-7 feet of water. Like I said, I've gotten more than just a couple of reports of that. However, we're still getting reports too of smallies out there in that 10 to 12 foot range. Now they're starting to get more reports of those fish out in 14 to 15 foot. And the guys that are out there been catching those perch out by the shipping channel are reporting more smallies out there as well. Now, that shouldn't surprise you because you've heard me say before in many reports, go where the biomass is, right? And when you have huge concentrations of fish like what we have out by the shipping channel, they're there for a reason. They're there for food, and it's not just mayflies. There are like huge schools of bait fish out there that are also showing up on your electronics. We call them bait balls, but there are balls of bait that you're going to see out there all over the place. They're probably shiners, maybe some shad mixed in, but there's a lot of bait out there. So, it is what it is. Sometimes, it's nice to be able to figure out the pattern of what's going on, but other times you just got to roll with it. So, if there's shallow fish, my best advice to you can be check shallow. And if they're not there, then start moving out deeper. But one of the key things is not all places along the lake are created equal, right? So even though Lake St. Clair is not known for having like tremendous transitions, right, with large break lines that you're going to go from 6 feet to 12 or 15 feet, in a span of 100 yards or something like that. We really don't have a lot of that, especially on this lower end of the lake, especially up in, Anchor Bay area, but definitely not down around us either from Metro down, although that point at Metro is a pretty significant, or I should say a very prominent feature. But there are other places along the lake that are like that. And if you look at your maps, you will see areas that have faster breaks than others, and those are going to be the areas that I would think that you would want to concentrate on to pick up on those shallower fish, because they have a lot less distance to move if they were holding deeper and they're coming in to feed shallow and then dropping back out. So in that metro area or Lake St. Clair Metro Park area, in and around that point is one of those areas. There's other areas, like there's a break over out in front of the 400 Club. And you get down into the St. Clair Shores area. There's a road that comes out there, Ardmore Park, or Ardmore, we used to call it Ardmore Point. That's another pretty significant break. You got down there by Ford's Cove. And then when you get down closer to the shipping channel, it's just kind of an obvious thing, right? You've got big shallow flats, and then you've got, as you get farther and farther south down there, you've got the shipping channel itself and the Delphine channel out there that provide pretty significant breaks. So those are the areas that I would expect you'll have, more of that going on than just areas that are like just big flats where you're just going to find fish just shallow, and they're not moving in and out. So anyways, I hope that helps. But definitely getting lots of reports of shallow fish. So it is what it is. Even with the water temps, there's got to be a lot of food. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. They're not going to go in there in, mid 70 degree temps if there isn't significant food source in there for them. So let's see. That's all I wanted to say about that. Sounds like that river walleye bite up on the St. Clair River, at least for the daytime anglers, is slowed down significantly. However, the guys that are whipping at night are still tearing them up pretty good. If we can get some kind of a rain event or a wind event that'll stir things up a little bit, that'll change, and the daytime bite will pick back up again. But right now we've just got pretty darn clear water, and that tends to push those fish deep. And other than the night bite, your daytime bite's either going to be really early and it's going to shut right down because that water up there gets absolutely gin clear. When we say clear, it's clear, super clear. That has an effect on pretty much everything around the lake. Although I know you guys like to find, a lot of you bass fishermen like that real clear water. I prefer to have color in it, even for the smallies too. Let's see. The bite out by the shipping channel, still going. Although I don't think it's as hot and heavy, but it's kind of hard to gauge right now because with the heat that we've got going on, we haven't had nearly as many people going out there to target those fish. But definitely it's an easy ride out when we've got conditions like this. However, usually be prepared for bugs. So what I will tell you is, if on these really like doldrum days when we don't have much wind, be prepared if you're especially going out towards that middle part of the lake. There's a lot of flies out there. Usually this time of year that hatch really gets going, not just on the mayflies, but on those little black flies too, which I've still never been able to figure out where those dang things come from out in the middle of nowhere, because they're kind of like little horse flies. And, you'd think that they'd be hatching from like a maggot or something, but I've never seen anything remotely close to that out there. So if we've got any entomologists out there that want to chime in and tell me what those flies are and where they come from and how they end up out in the middle of the stinking lake, like 12 miles out, it's crazy, but they're out there and they are really annoying. And especially when it's hot like this, it's kind of hard to keep long pants on and long sleeve shirts on. But you almost have to when they're out there and they're biting. I haven't heard from the guys saying that it's been horrible out there yet, but I know it's coming. If it hasn't started already, this heat generally gets them things going, and they can really be a nuisance. So, let's see. I'm thinking that's about all I've got this week. It's kind of a quick one. Like I said, it's been a little bit slower in the store just because of how much heat we've got. But I wanted to just, I know you guys rely on these reports, especially you guys coming in from out of town. So I try not to miss our weekly reports for you guys. One thing we do have big golden shiners in there now for you guys that absolutely can't get these smallies going on drop shot rigs or top water or anything else. Those big goldens are known to make that fishless water very fishy in a hurry. And looks like we're gonna be switching over to baby goldens later this week. Right now, we've still got some emeralds in the store right now, emeralds and sand mix, but it's gonna probably be switching over to baby goldens here pretty quick. So, with that said, looks like we got a cool down coming next week. It's not gonna be so horrible, and temperatures will be much nicer, and hopefully the wind plays nice for you guys, so you can get out there on St. Clair and enjoy your day. Hey gang, if you like our content, hit the little subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll be notified as soon as we put out new stuff.